Right, you've shown me 3 different areas of maths that you teach in a visual way using a whole kind of host of different equipment, which has been absolutely mind-blowing for me there. And also I'm a bit more convinced now about this exit strategy, because it's not, I guess in my head it was suddenly, right, we teach them this way, Monday to Thursday, then all of a sudden Friday comes along, right, you're banned from doing that, now you're doing it this way. Or it's, I'll show you all this nice way of doing it, right, forget all that, now watch me do it, this procedure, but it's not that, is it?
No, it's a transfer, concreteness fading as you move from the visual, concrete, pictorial element to abstracting that into a procedure. But when you get stuck, and this is where my maths I taught myself is, so when I get stuck and I can't remember the procedure, I've got something to fall back onto. That's why I visualize everything. So everything for me now is 2 things. Procedures, obviously, no. But I also think in pictures.
Flipping heck.
And what we didn't get enough chance to go today is the difference one, where you subtract them, but that's an idea I'm working on. Another teaser for...
Another teaser. There's going to be years of these that we're going to have to do, Bernie. All right, well, let's move on to a few reflections, and I'm going to hand over to you for your big 3. First reflection is... like, it's interesting, we had a conversation last night over dinner about how you've been teaching for many years, but it's only in kind of this last 12 months to 18 months that you've had chance to do like a lot of reading and a lot of thinking about things. So I wonder, what is it that either you've read recently or something you've read in the past that's particularly influenced your thinking?
In the past, I'm not a great reader, as you know, because I find it very painful and hard and difficult, as in writing is even worse. I think one of the books that impressed me most was John Holt, How Children Fail, and then How Children Learn.
Now, I've not read this, but I've had this recommended.
Yeah, no, we were talking about that earlier. And a couple of phrases, meeting you has caused me to look back at a lot of things. So I can't remember anything, so I have to look it up. It says, and the quote is, I doubt very much if it's possible to teach anyone to understand anything. That is to say, to see how various parts of it relate to all the other parts, to have a model of the structure in one's mind. We can give other people's names and lists, but we cannot give them our mental structures. They must build their own.
Now, you said this to me last night. I was thinking about this as I was going to sleep. So you don't think it's possible, or Holt and you agree with this, to teach kids to understand something? We can teach them procedures, but they've got to make the connections, and if we use schema or whatever model we think, they've got to develop them themselves.
Yeah, we can point. One of the things I read that influenced me about teaching is that we mustn't see maths as this topic, this topic, this topic, this topic. We must see maths as connecting together, ratio, proportion, fractions. But we need to make that explicit to our children in our teaching, how these areas are all connected.
Right.
And we can lead them towards that, but I guess at heart I believe that children will construct their own concepts and understanding. What I'm in the business of doing is to try and find equipment and things to help them, to lead them to that point. Which is the other one, he says, we make a serious mistake in asking children to perform symbolically operations which they could not perform concretely. So if a child can't work with a group of 37 and a group of 28 and find out how many more it is, he shouldn't be doing 37 minus 28 as an abstract operation.
Yes.
I think that would really influence a lot of my thinking. I'm guessing, because it's, I don't remember what I've read, but it kind of comes into my teaching, and I just go with that. So I think he taught me a lot.
I'm going to have a read of that book.
I think it was another terrible phrase was that children come to school curious. Within a few years, most of that curiosity is dead, or at least silent. Open a 1st or 3rd grade to questions, and you'll be deluged. 5th graders say nothing. They either have no questions or will ask them. They think, what's this leading up to? What's the catch?
Yeah,
but and it's...
I'll tell you what's interesting though, Bernie, is whilst... Because again, there's this big debate, it's all kicking off on Twitter all the time, isn't it? Explicit versus inquiry, and constructivist, progression, and all this kind of stuff. But what I'm seeing from this is that you believe students have to construct their own meaning, but you're not just leaving them to figure stuff out themselves, right?
It's a very carefully constructed. Learned a lot from Singapore maths and their books. And
it's the structure, it's the language, it's the activities, it's the examples, so carefully thought through.
So carefully.
If you look at that then allows them to construct.
But you often have to tell them as well.
Yeah, of course.
But at least half of them will do it on their own. Some of them will be pointed there. But I just try and do that, and then also make connections for them, help them make those connections.
Got it. Got it. My other thing I wanted to ask you about reflecting is there anything you've changed your mind on? So something that you used to kind of hold dear and think was pretty true that recently you've started to change a bit?
Yeah, I taught for 39 years, and successfully, if I say so myself, by judging by exam results, if that's success. Since I've retired, I've done a lot of reading. You see a man in the middle in a meltdown really at the moment, because I think that every central pillar of this construction of teaching has been knocked down in the last few years, particularly the last year as I read stuff. And I was talking to my head of department, Becky Levy, at the school where I work yesterday, and I said, I'm even more confused than last time we spoke. Yeah. So I'm in a transition period of where I'm not really sure what I believe. Yeah. But I'm still teaching the way I did. But I'm trying to take a lot of ideas on board, and I don't like going to this side or that side. I think that I'm trying to draw the best bits. This is what they did in Singapore. They went around the world and said, what's the best bit, what's successful, and trying to draw those in. And I'm in the midst of rebuilding what I think maths teaching is about.
What would be an example of like one of those central pillars that...
Oh, a simple one is with young children. I used to hate them using finger counting. Yeah. And then I read some stuff and it turns out that's a load of rubbish. I was completely wrong, so we've had to change that. Just so many things that have changed. My memory's terrible, so that's one I can definitely remember. Yeah. Teaching algebra has changed completely in the last 2-3 years. I've researched that, look at the ways other people teach it, how to bring this in. That's changed totally and utterly.
There's another teaser there. I like that. And last question before I hand over to you is there anything you wish you knew when you first started teaching that you know now?
I've written down here everything I've learnt in the last 6 years since I retired.
It's interesting, isn't it? But do you, again, this is because I often think that myself, because I've changed a load over the last 2 years. But then when I was interviewing Anne Watson and John Mason, Anne made the point when I asked her that question, she said nothing, because she used the phrase speak to her condition. She thought that if she'd have been told all this stuff when she'd have been first started teaching, she wasn't ready to hear it.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you think have you had to go through all the kind of things you've gone through to now be at the point where you can start questioning it?
I don't know the answer to that question.
No, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
She's a far more intelligent and knowledgeable, wise person than I am, I'm afraid. Now, as I said, I'm in the middle of a complete meltdown at the moment in many ways, so ask me that question in a year, I hope I'll have a much better answer